What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Night Smackdown pod for May 30th. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, joined as always by Robin Lundberg. Robin, welcome back, bro. How are you?
I'm doing well, Denise. How you doing? Pretty good SmackDown tonight. You know, we got the heavy hitters back in the building. I thought it started really strong and ended really strong.
I thought today's episode of SmackDown flew by. I didn't look at the clock. I only looked at the clock one time, and it was already 2 hours had gone by, which is great because at that point I was so interested in what they were doing because we still had the men's Mini in the Bank qualifier, and then we still had the John Cena Cody Rhodes stuff. So overall, I just thought today's show flew by, which is nice though. I had a feeling today's show was going to be good because of everything that had been announced heading into it. So I want to get right to it, man. I want to kick things off though with the way that we closed out the show. We had John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul, Jey Uso confrontation. As you all know, these are the men that are going to be going up against each other in a tag team match at Money in the Bank. Robin, there really wasn't that much that happened here. A couple of words, some shit talk between both guys between all four guys, and then a little brawl. Nothing really too crazy, but what did you like? What didn't you like about this?
I like the line from John Cena. Where what did he say? You guys are just mad that Logan Paul does WWE better than any of you, which sort of fits the motif that he's been doing. I keep waiting for this to be all flawlessly tied together and executed. But I like the fact that Cody Rhodes started it and mentioned some of that, the final boss and selling his soul. So he put that back on the table, which to me is interesting, considering everything that we've talked about in the meantime, right? About like what happened to that. So putting it back on the table is interesting. And then John Cena playing into the bit in the character with why people don't like Logan Paul. You know, the whole like you could see people going Logan Paul stuff like that is ruin wrestling, right? And that's the bit that John Cena is trying to execute and pull off. Jey Uso's entrance always works, right? Like that's the best thing about Jey Uso is is his entrance. So I mean, I think it served its purpose, right? Like, yeah, is that going to be the thing we're talking about years from now? Obviously not. But it set up the match well. It got the heavy hitters back on the show, and it gave me a little bit of the wheels turning of, oh, okay, Cody, maybe we're going somewhere with it eventually. Perhaps maybe was the biggest takeaway, I would say.
So I think for me, my favorite parts was actually my favorite part was obviously when Cody Rhodes Cody Rhodes told Logan Paul, "What are you gonna go do? Go polish his peacemaker?" I like that joke. I thought that was a good joke. That one, and then I did think that Logan Paul. Here's the worst thing: nothing's worse than when a heel kind of makes a little bit of sense because they're just like, "Oh, damn it, I hate you. How dare you make a little bit of sense?" But when he was talking about himself and John Cena being self-made men and not necessarily Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, because as we know, their families, they're from royalty wrestling families, and those guys aren't. So I thought, damn you, Logan Paul, bringing that up. I can't, like, shit. Like, this is one where you're actually a little bit right there. So I did like that portion of it, and I mean, now it's clear, hey, this is I don't even know. This is not really like anything too crazy for me though. I did like those lines, but that was really the extent of it all. I liked that Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso were also the ones to get the upper hand on the heels. That was cool. We saw Cody raise up the belt at the end. When do you think what happens after Money in the Bank though? Well, where do we go from here afterwards with this story between John Cena and Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, I mean, well, I believe Cody Rhodes probably gets the revenge in this match itself for the WrestleMania loss, right? Like that makes sense to me. And then they're clearly setting them up, running it back in one way, shape, or form. So it's not as if this is something where John Cena wins the title and then that's the end of Cody Rhodes. So I think if you're a Cody Rhodes fan, what you take solace away from this is that Cody is clearly involved in the big picture stuff coming forward. So him losing the championship wasn't his story wasn't finished by him losing the
Oh,
championship.
story to finish.
Yeah.
um, what do you call it? Yeah, that's where we're at on that. There's really not much else to move forward with this part of the story. I think really the bigger stories from tonight was all of the stuff that went down with Money in the Bank and the qualifiers. But really quickly before we get to that, we do got a couple of super chats. This is from Bob Ross Jr., who says, "Poor Zelina, she just got her title and now everyone wants her to lose it to Julia." Unfortunately, it's one of those things where I think I wasn't expecting Zelina Vega to have like a long championship reign as United States champion. I think this was a decent little run that she had, but it's time for us to continue. I was saying, here's the thing, like the bar of the women's wrestling bar has been set very, very high at this point, and it's gonna happen. Like, there are just girls that are stronger wrestlers that are gonna come in and that are gonna, take over the scene. And it's just one of those things that's gonna happen, especially as the bar continues to be set higher and higher. So it's really hard for me to say, oh yeah, Julia shouldn't defeat Zelina. I do think Julia should defeat Zelina because I want to start seeing some more seriously competitive matches for that championship belt over on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, look, the women's division is so stacked where you're talking about that in, that's a secondary level of everything that took place amongst the women. But yes, you have to then elevate them so that they get to the point where they're fronting the show, like we saw with the heavy hitters there. But Zelina, Julia is getting elevated, and it's tough. Chelsea Green just got the title before she lost it, so they're playing a little hot potato with some of these championships at times. I really don't. I guess I'm not sitting here thinking like it's the end of her career, just like I'm not thinking it made her career that she's wearing it, because it really hasn't been like, oh my God, she's the champion, right? Like that's not the way I'm viewing her at this moment.
No, I thought for me it was just like, okay, that was a cool, sweet moment for Zelina, and I thought that was nice. But of course, I think that like I said, I just think the caliber of wrestling is going to be different with different types of champions, and I think I'm ready to get to that for the United States Championship, and so that's why it's just going to happen that way. She had her moment, and she's still having her moment. It's not over just yet. But I think that if she does have the match with Julia, she's probably going to give her best match of her career. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, that's just how it is. Obviously, championship reigns come and go. Not everybody could be Roman Reigns. Not everybody could be Gunther when it comes to long title reigns. Thank you, Bob Ross. We got Sammy Suwan Boone here who says, "Did you know about SmackDown will not put next Friday? They will put soccer next week." Wait, what? I didn't know this. Did you know this, Robin?
What did he say?
Who says that there's going to be no SmackDown? They're going to put next Friday. They're going to put soccer next week. I haven't seen anything of that.
SmackDown on USA. I I could see that. Does USA have soccer rights? What soccer
I
would
have
that
no
be?
idea. Well, I've been watching on Netflix, so I'm not really too sure what the situation is. If someone has some more details on this, please let us know because I'm a little bit out of the loop on that one.
I
We
have
got
not heard of that, so I do.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We got Bob Ross here who says Stephanie Vaquer potentially working double duty next Saturday would be so beast of her. Remember, she did it before when she was double champ, so she could do it again. Oh, yeah, that's a fact. I feel like it's so funny because, like, I think people kind of always say, like, oh, this person can work double duty. Like, all of these talents that you see, especially these people that were in the indies or, before going to WWE, these people are used to working multiple shows, Robin. Like, there's people, I mean, God, like during WrestleMania week, I see so many wrestlers like doing 20 shows in like 2 days. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but several shows in a short period of time. Like, this is not something that like this will still be good for her. Like she could do it. Like she's got that experience because that's the background. And especially in Mexico, like the people in Mexico, they would work like 100 shows in one weekend. So I think that Stephanie could totally do it. I would love, obviously, she's already been announced for Worlds Collide, and then she's in a qualifier for the Money in the Bank ladder match. I hope she does make it into that qualifier. I think it would be really, really cool to see her in that matchup. What do you think, Robin?
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, you're talking about somebody who's in that same token. I was just talking about like elevating themselves right in the midst right now. So this is a strike while the iron's hot sort of moment. And what impresses people is stuff like, oh, this was the time she pulled that off, right? Like especially early in your career as you're rising your way up the ranks. So I think why not? I mean, it totally makes sense.
We got Issa David here who says, what in the world did we just watch? How much did TKO pay Cena to glaze Paul like that? That was hard to watch. Bad ending to a good show. Like I said, the thing that I was thinking about as this was going through, and I was saying this to my chat during the watch along, was damn, we're down to like the final 10 minutes of the show and John Cena is still not out there. Like John Cena got out there with like 7 minutes left on the show. Obviously they did a little bit of an overrun, like a couple minutes, but I kept thinking to myself, like, damn, we had a 3-hour show and we are saving this to the tippy end of the very very end of SmackDown. And I was thinking to myself, like, shit, what are we even gonna get out of this with the time that is left here on this show?
Yeah, no, but I disagree with the comment. I mean, that's what I brought up earlier. If you are going to do this, John's like, look, I don't subscribe to the theory of things can be bad and John Cena can say, I'm ruining wrestling and it's okay for them being bad, right? Like that theory, I don't subscribe to. But the fact that John Cena is playing that character where he's saying he's going to ruin wrestling and he's against the fans. Well, him glazing Logan Paul and sucking up to the teat of TKO totally plays into that, right? So that makes sense to me. That doesn't mean the product is bad. That means John Cena is the product of this heel turn that we've talked about, right? Like, so I actually think him doing that made a ton of sense and fits the vibe of what they've been trying to execute. So that's the
right,
line
but I see it differently. I know what you mean by that, Robin, but I see it as like this, okay, because I hate when people say, oh, well, because, okay, for example, if you say John Cena's heel turn has been boring, it's been lame, it's been bad, and then people will be like, well, that's what it's supposed to be. He's about to ruin pro wrestling. I'm like, yeah, you can, well, like, no, that's so stupid. Like, that doesn't mean you should bore me out of my mind and ruining pro wrestling. Like, ruin pro wrestling in a way that it's just, to me, there's a difference between, okay, he says he's going to ruin pro wrestling and then legitimately this just being terrible booking. There's two totally different things. That to me is two separate things. And I think that, like, I haven't been on board, man. Like, this hasn't been my feud for me. This has not been my feud. So I don't like when people say, oh, I don't like when people respond to when people say, I don't like John Cena's heel turn. They're like, oh, you're not supposed to like it in that way. I'm like, no, bro, there's a difference. There's a difference.
That's the distinction I was trying to draw, though. Like, it's not okay for it to be a poor product because he's saying he's ruining wrestling. But
exactly. Thank you. Yes.
But it is okay for him to feed into that character by doing things that fans wouldn't like aligning himself with Logan Paul, who is the type of person who would ruin wrestling. So, you know, it makes sense within the story and within the character that he's supposed to be portraying, not when you're supposed to just eat slop on a plate because he keeps saying he's going to ruin wrestling.
Yes. Okay, good. We've ironed out the details here. Yes, that's exactly how I feel too, because I thought, okay, you know, John Cena has been trying to get people to hate him. We still have some people that are rooting for John Cena. Obviously, he's going to want more hate as a heel. So aligning with Logan Paul, who gets a shit ton of heat, obviously that's going to, you know, rub off a little bit more on John Cena. So thank you so much, Issa David. We got Infamous Raider Loco here who says, so Julia looking at U.S. title, but in Money in the Bank, hey, man, you got to shoot your shot, right? Shoot your shot wherever you can get it, man. I think that's probably what Julia is doing at the moment. Thank you, Infamous Raider Loco. We got Sin City Saint here who says, Robin, has anyone ever told you kind of look like Alex Shelley? Hi, Denise. Fiend. Oh, no.
Fiend.
Let me see.
Fiend.
I'm trying to see if you look like Alex Shelley.
I
don't see it.
I would need more hair, right?
For sure. I don't see it.
Or not more hair, but blonder, like a different hair cut and blonde.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a first.
No. The answer to this question is no. And no one's ever told me I look like Alex Shelley.
Thank you, Sin City Say. Well, there's a first for everything. All right, so I want to get into the Money in the Bank qualifiers because there was a lot that went down with that. And I want to start with the women because, dude, this thing is so freaking loaded. So we had Nia Jax, Naomi, and Jade Cargill all in this matchup here. But before that, though, we got like another confrontation between Naomi and Bianca. And this was good because Naomi once again brought out that psychotic self in her. Like times 10 this time, because she's going out there and she's telling Bianca, I've been texting you, I've been calling you, and you've been ghosting me. So I went to your parents' house and then they weren't home. So then I went in, and I'm thinking, yo, you went into her house? This is crazy. And she's looking at her all mad. Tears are coming out of her face. I mean, this woman is playing this role to the 10, to the nines. Like, she is doing amazing in this. Like, she's probably my favorite heel right now on SmackDown. And so seeing that little dynamic with with Bianca and with Naomi was so good. Jade went out there, took out Naomi, but then Jade and Bianca, we still don't know what the situation is there, because they kind of just stare at each other and there really isn't anything there. I feel like, based off what we've seen from Bianca, technically they should, why would Jade be mad at her? Like, I don't think Jade should be mad at her, because if anything, Bianca just said, like, how dare you do this? Like, Naomi, you did this to our friend. So I think that Jade, maybe she's a little bit just like conflicted. I'm not really sure. So there's a lot of questions there. And then also, this finally led into the actual matchup for the qualifiers matchup. So I love this match. I thought my favorite part of this, Robin, was how much Naomi took, how much pain she took from Nia Jax. Nia Jax, man, she was taking down Naomi every single opportunity she could, but Naomi gets the win here. I'm happy Naomi got the win, because I was secretly, well, not secretly, I was rooting for her, man. I was rooting for her. I think she's a right call to be in this Money in the Bank. She's been in, they said this is going to be her 5th, or she's done 5 already. She's always an MVP in these matchups. She's the kind of competitor you want in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, look, I was happy for you when it happened. I was thinking of you when it happened, especially like the way that roll up sort of like took a minute.
Oh, that was sloppy. That was
Yeah.
not good. That was not good. That was slow
Well,
motion.
Naya's a big girl, so like sometimes I can forgive that sort of stuff, because
Yeah.
it's actually like, that's a good suspension of disbelief, because it's like, okay, yeah, it may not have been executed properly, but also you got to roll over this big girl, right? Like, so it was tough, and then it's also going to be tougher for her to kick out because of that, right? Like, so all of that actually worked okay for me. I wasn't taken out of it. But I was thinking, yeah, Denise, because I knew you'd be happy about that. But I agree with you that it was the right call. And I think from beginning to end, that was my favorite segment of the show. I think it was the strongest segment of the show, because of the two aspects. The one you touched on, the whole like Naomi kind of crazed, deranged, I showed up at your house, Bianca bit, to Naomi winning, with the possibility of her actually winning money. And I think she's going to at this point. If I
She's
had
got a strong chance. Yes.
I mean, it feels like the most viable way to keep her in the mix long term, as you have this thing going with Jade and Bianca, and then all the storylines converge at some point. So I thought for all those reasons, and then the match itself was good too. I thought for all those reasons, that was the highlight of the show.
Yeah, so I agree with you, man. I thought, just as it was a complete and total package. It moved forward so many different storylines, so many characters, got us asking a couple of new questions, what's going to happen. Then we got into a really good match with a nice outcome. I thought that, yeah, you're right. This was the very best portion of the show, because they just got all of the things right. Now, the other thing that we need to get into in regards to the other Money in the Bank scenario, kind of what we predicted as well. So Jacob Fatu, Andrade, and Carmelo Hayes in this Money in the Bank qualifier, and they were going, man, to the nines. There was a moment where Jacob Fatu tried to run down Andrade and Carmelo in the barricade, through the barricade, but instead he's like running, hits the barricade. They both move out the way, and Fatu just goes straight into that barricade. It was gruesome. It was very cool to see, though. And they were, handling their business, kicking ass. I was loving this match. And then, of course, as predicted, Solo Sikoa, JC Mateo, they go out there. Fatu hits a moonsault. He's handling his business. Solo gets on the ring apron, distracts the referee, distracts Jacob Fatu. This basically leads to Andrade getting the win. I wasn't expecting Andrade to get the win, but he did. I don't think people are going to be expecting him to win the Money in the Bank, though, but they will see him do very well in this matchup, because he's good. He's good at the aerial moves and whatnot. So I think he's going to bring a lot to the ladder match.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was surprised at the end. The ending went exactly as I thought it would have, except for the finish, like the actual finish. I once I saw Jacob Fatu standing up on the apron, I knew the friction with him and Solo was going to come into play. The distraction was going to come into play. I thought Carmelo Hayes was going to be the one going into the Money in the Bank. So interesting wrinkle, because it makes you go, okay, what's the reason for Andrade doing it? Is it because of something coming in the future, or is it just because you think he's going to kick ass in the match? Either is probably an acceptable answer, but that was the most intriguing thing of the whole deal to me, just because I legitimately wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I thought if anything, it probably would have been Carmelo Hayes, but it's interesting that they went in the Andrade route because they really haven't given him that much. Like, he really hasn't had a lot happening on the show. So, in a way, I'm glad because I don't think he's really done much of anything since he came back to WWE. I mean, besides the matches that he had with Carmelo, that's really been it. So, he really needs this. So, I hope that he does go out there and have a good showing, which I definitely have no doubt that he will. I think he will go out there and remind people why they like Andrade. He always does. Whenever he's in a good match, he reminds people why he's there in the first place. And I don't know what this means for Carmelo Hayes, man. It's some ups, some downs for Carmelo. But the other thing is, at least with Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, we continue to move this story forward. And another person who's also coming after Jacob Fatu is Damian Priest. It's funny because Damian Priest came out and he cuts this promo and he says, "You guys know I won championship gold and I'm coming for the champion. And you guys know who I'm talking about." And I was sitting there and I was going, I'm not exactly so sure which champion you're talking about. Well, we could be several champions you're talking about, but it ended up being Fatu and they had a little bit of a mini confrontation. Are you excited about this being one of the next steps for Fatu? Because clearly he has Solo, he has JC, and now it's looking like Damian Priest.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Damian Priest is a worthy opponent. I think they could put on a good old fashioned slobber knocker. Shout out to JR. After the surgery this week, but that to me is yeah. I mean, especially it seems like Drew McIntyre is on the shelf for a minute. I believe I read, and Damian Priest just comes out of that feud, so it makes sense to put him against Jacob Fatu, because it's one thing when Jacob Fatu just has guys that you're like, okay, food, right? Like, and Damian Priest doesn't feel like food. Damian Priest feels like a feud that he has to go through.
Yes, like an actual real obstacle. And that's also what's needed because more matches like that are only going to continue to build Jacob Fatu up a lot more. We got Bob Ross Jr. here who says, oh, by the way, first and foremost, we got Larice Johnson who says, "I see on the USA Network schedule, I see Friday Night Smackdown for next Friday." Thank you so much, Larice. I'm wondering if it's a location thing. Maybe it's a location thing. So depending on where Sammy Sawan Boone was located.
It was still on Fox. Perhaps I know SmackDown used to get moved to FS1 sometimes.
Yes,
because of soccer on Fox. That was my first reaction, but that's not a USA
because
Network
even
thing.
I forgot that it's not on Fox anymore, honestly, because I don't watch on Fox. But my brain automatically goes to SmackDown on Fox. It hasn't adjusted to SmackDown on USA Network. Plus, it doesn't help. I don't actually watch it. Like, I watch it on Netflix. But even though it's still like, well, you know how it is. Either way, I just always associate with Fox, SmackDown, whatever. So thank you so much for updating us on that, Larice. We got Bob Ross Jr. So we're good, guys. So we're good. You tune into SmackDown on Friday and we should be all right. Bob Ross Jr., especially since it's right before Money in the Bank. Bob Ross Jr. here says, "Whoever helped Julia with her English needs a race." Yeah, she had a very kick-ass little video package today where she was basically saying, you can love me, you can hate me, it doesn't matter, but you do have to recognize me for what I'm doing and what I am and who I am and what I bring to the table. So I thought that was pretty sick. And yeah, her English sounded perfectly fine to me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what comes with reps and practice and everything like that, it's important for the most part, because it's very rare you see somebody who can't pull it off without being able to cut a promo like that. I mean, Io Sky is fascinating to me because of the way she's able to sell herself and charisma on the ring and just like magnetism without having to have the mic in her hands. But for the most part, but I'm not sitting here. I wasn't sitting there thinking about it before. Like, I wasn't going, grading her English.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's just like noticeable, but I also think it's a good thing because, like, it's so important, right? Because even if you want to, if you want to keep continuing to grow your star, it's great that they're finding ways for people whose English is not 100% yet, that they're finding ways to like, work around that. But that if you do want to continue to get bigger and better, obviously working on your English is very important. So it's good to see her doing her due diligence and doing all of that to continue to improve upon so that she can find some more success because you know how it is. Just sometimes if they're like, oh, well, whatever, right? Like they'll treat you a little bit differently, which sucks. But we've seen that happen to so many wrestlers that don't speak the language, and you don't want to see that happen to Julia or to anybody else. So I am glad that she is improving in her skills on that. Saif Dun Super here says crowd was dead until the real four stars in the end. There were some moments during the men's qualifier that I thought the crowd should have been like reacting a little bit more. But other than that, I did think the crowd was fine. There was just some moments where I did feel like they could have been louder. But it is what it is. Heidi Ho here says if Stephanie wins Monday, she's going to have 2 matches next Saturday. Manifesting it now. I am too, man. I think right now she's on fire, and you don't want to try to fizzle that out at all. I think everybody is kind of hoping that she wins this matchup. It's either going to be her or Liv, really. And it could be Liv too, because let's not forget Roxanne Perez is in the matchup. And who's got beef with Roxanne? Liv. Like they're starting that beef with her. So it might be a situation where she makes it into the Money in the Bank and they got beef within the match, or she doesn't make it into the match, and then Roxanne is kind of like, haha, I'm in it and you're not, and you're a former champion, haha. So I'm not sure what'll happen there, but I think most people want to see Stephanie Vaquer at least take it and qualify for the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I mean, we just touched on it earlier in the show. It seems to be the prevailing notion, and this is the second time we've had the 2 matches reference, which makes it seem like that's where we're headed, right? Like it's like here it is, it's coming.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Heidi Ho. We got CJ here who says, fair to say SmackDown has been better than Raw recently. I don't think so. I don't think I'm there because I feel like there have been weeks where I've been on Team Raw and there are weeks when I'm Team SmackDown. I feel this week's SmackDown was maybe a little bit stronger than Raw, but then again, I kind of have to run through my notes a little bit more just because I obviously just watched SmackDown, so I remember it a little bit more. But I wouldn't say that it's like winning every single week. That's definitely not the case because I've sat through some recent SmackDowns where I thought to myself, oh my God, nothing is happening on this show. And I don't necessarily feel that way about Raw. So I feel like I've had more conflicting feelings about SmackDown than I have Raw. So I'm not there yet, CJ. But I mean, look, this is a 3-hour show. It's a lot tougher for us to be like, yo, all 3 hours were effing great. Just crazy because it's only half hour more than Raw, but it just feels like a million years longer.
Yeah, but Raw's been the bigger show lately. I mean, it's just the truth. For the longest time, SmackDown had Roman Reigns on it. And that's probably you take a show like today, just the fact that John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and Logan Paul are all in the ring together. It feels like a bigger show, even if it wasn't that eventful. And Raw consistently has had that big program with Seth Rollins, and it just has felt like a bigger show in recent weeks due to the lack of star power on SmackDown. That can all even out, but I think it's hard to overcome.
Yeah, and that was the big difference today. We had the star power with Cody and John. Even though they were at the tail end of the show, they were still there and it still made a difference. Thank you so much, CJ. We got Stephen Marchuli here who says, does Ricky somehow get in the Money in the Bank match? I don't know, man. I truly do not know. That's a tough one. Do you think he does, Robin? But there's a lot of people speculating he's going main roster or that he's main roster bound based off of his loss.
I mean, I not really. Right now. No, I don't. Immediately into the money next week, right? Like,
Yeah, they already announced a qualifier for there's only one spot left, and they already announced a qualifier for Raw. Punk's in it. I forgot who else is in it, but Saints is not in it, so I don't think he will. But
yeah, just
but he may get on
now.
the actual card. But see, if he were to get on the actual card, though, there's really no feud, no story for him to just get on the Money in the Bank card. So I'm gonna say no. Unless he makes a debut there, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, just like we said, there doesn't seem to be a natural entry point.
Yeah, no, not at the moment. We got CJ here who says, I mean, post-Mania, before that, it was Raw all day. Um, Post-Mania, I see, I still feel like I ping pong back and forth. I feel like there's weeks where it's Raw, there's weeks where it's SmackDown. Shit, there's weeks when I think NXT is the better show out of the three. So no, I've been ping ponging back and forth between these. Thank you, CJ. We got JJ Castillo who says, who do you think is going to be the first feud for Stephanie on Raw after Money in the Bank? Also, who wins men's and women's Money in the Bank? Well, Stephanie Vaquer, Jesus, right now there's nobody on Raw besides Roxanne Perez that she really has any history with that I recall. I would actually like her to get involved in the Lyra Becky stuff with whomever comes out of that. I feel like she should be the next person in that title or in that program.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many people competing for that spot right now, and in the mix, it's kind of amazing the women's talent. I know you just said you just did a video on it, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's up here for DWO members. Yes.
look at me getting the plug in for you.
Woo! It was the video title was "Are we in the golden age of women's wrestling?" Something along those
Yeah,
lines.
yeah, and so it's a tough ladder to climb, if you will.
Robin's in his bag today.
But yeah, I mean that men's. By the way, on the predictions there, I think Naomi wins the women's Money in the Bank, and the men's is LA Knight.
So far for the men, we have, let me see, we have LA Knight is in that. We got Solo Sikoa, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, and I think the last one will be CM Punk. Jesus. I don't think it's Solo Sikoa, or who knows, maybe it could be. Maybe he cashes in for the United States Championship. I don't know. It might be Seth Rollins just because of him in the new group. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like somebody could. Seth Rollins, my first thought was once he got in there, he's got to win it. But then my second thought was because of the other players that he's involved with, that they maybe cost him. So to me, it's going to be Seth Rollins or LA Knight. It's one of those two, and I'm pretty convinced about Naomi on the women's side.
I love that. All right. We got Sin City Saint here who says, so they announced the final men's Money in the Bank and Karrion Kross wasn't in it. What a travesty. Hashtag push Karrion Kross. Obviously, Robin, you have seen that the fans have really gotten behind. There's a group of fans that have really gotten behind Karrion Kross to the point where his shirt became the #1 seller. This was after his appearance where he made on a podcast appearance on a Raw post show and he went off, right? And, WWE has done nothing since then. It's been how many weeks since this? This happened following WrestleMania. And nothing has been done with Karrion Kross besides like maybe one backstage bit that he did on Raw. There really wasn't anything. Do you think that WWE is recognizing the fan attention that he's getting? And do you think that there's a chance that because he didn't even have a qualifier that I recall. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, but I almost think like the whole thing, the reason the fan attention is working is because it's sort of like anti-establishment. So in a
Yes, that
way,
always works.
yeah, in a way, it works for him to be on the outside looking in to continue to feed into that because that's
Yes, I was wondering if they were doing that on purpose.
yeah, I think because otherwise you're getting into weird, dicey territory if he's consistently like flaming the company, right? Like, but so you blur those lines a little bit where he keeps getting screwed and then he keeps taking it to the man from the outside where you can't contain him, right? Like, so that feels like how they're building it to me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It crossed my mind of what if them not putting him on and people recognizing this is going to help people basically get behind his back a lot more. That I think it might be like a reverse psychology kind of thing.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you,
that's
Cincinnati
I
Saint.
think it's exactly what it is. I mean, don't the reason it's working is because he's not getting that. So why would you give it to him right away?
Interesting. All right, we got Issa David here who says, "Thank you so much, by the way, for this very generous super chat." Issa says, "Celebrity wrestlers are an insult to those who have bled for years to get here. Logan is stealing time away from those who deserve it. Why not Grayson Waller or Ethan Page instead? Cena is killing wrestling in a bad way, in my opinion." So, I've never been anti-celebrity wrestler. That's just never been my thing. Like, I've never been anti them if they're going out there and not essentially, shitting the bed. So Logan Paul has not been bad in the ring, and he's actually pretty decent at promos. The problem with Logan Paul is that he's just an unlikable person, like in real life. Like, it's not just the character. And I think that because he's so disliked in real life, that's why he doesn't really get any credit for actually being pretty decent in the ring. But then at the same time, though, I'm not really sure what the preparation is though for Logan Paul and his matches, but I presume that his matches are rehearsed a lot more versus actual professional wrestlers that, can go in the ring and call a match, right? I think Logan Paul's matches are more rehearsed a lot. I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that, but that's my assumption. So when you have situations like that, it's really different though. So we've seen him look good, but there could have been far more practice. What happens when he goes out there and he isn't, having had rehearsed a match, and he really does have to go out there and, call a match on the fly? That is a totally different situation. I'm not really too sure again, how much practice he has or doesn't have before a match. I don't know. But based off what we've seen, it hasn't been bad with Logan Paul. It's just that he's not a likable person. And that's just unfortunately where we're at.
What do you really feel about him? How do you feel?
Oh, was I honest? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a
Well, you should be
secret.
honest. Logan Paul is not a likable person from Denise.
He's not liked. It's true. Am I wrong though? Like, am
No,
I
that's
wrong?
kind of his that's kind of his
Yeah,
character
it's his
anyway.
character.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why it works. Like, I hate to say this, but that's why WWE puts him out there. They're like, "Oh, he's famous and people don't like him. The heat, pal." Like that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, for sure. No, and that's why I like to tie a bow on it. What John Cena said about how he does WWE better than everybody else, because that fits the ruin wrestling thing, rather than just like wrestling being ruined by whatever the product that's being offered.
Thank you, Issa David. We got the Imperial Silence here who says, "So is there a chance El Grande Americano finally gets unmasked before SummerSlam, or is it something that may last till the end of the year or even further?" I thought that it was going to happen at WrestleMania with Rey Mysterio unmasking him. Now that Rey Mysterio got injured and that match didn't happen, I feel this is going to go a lot longer. I don't think that this is the end of El Grande Americano. I wish it was. I don't think it is, though.
Yeah, and look, the AAA thing, makes things interesting as well, right? When you have that kind of character on the main roster, and I thought that's one thing they did pretty well today too, is tease ahead to what they're planning there, while also involve some of the NXT guys like the Evans, everything that went through in that sort of match up there, and some of the showcasing that they did.
Oh, that was fun. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I don't know how I forgot to mention that match. Javon Evans and Ray Phoenix today versus Los Garzas. Dude, that was fun, man. I thought Javon and Ray, that was my favorite match of the night, actually. And then after was the women's Money in the Bank qualifier. And then the men's Money in the Bank qualifier. But yeah, I thought that Javon Evans and Ray Phoenix together as a tag team, like their timing was great. They were in sync. It seemed like this wasn't their first time tagging together. You could have fooled me. I could have thought that they were tag team partners way before this match. That's how much a connection there was between both of them.
Yeah, and I thought Javon Evans really made a name for himself in that match. Like for those people who hadn't seen him on NXT maybe, and were seeing him for the first time, I think he really made a big impression in that match. And so you did that showcase of some guys, and then you connected some NXT stuff, and you teased forward a little bit. So I thought that really served its purpose well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Thank you so much, Imperial Silence. We got Bob Ross Jr. here who says, "I'm calling it right now. We will see Mariah May at Great American Bash and Evolution 2. I definitely think she'll be on Evolution 2. That's a fact. I don't know about Great American Bash, but for sure, Evolution 2. Maybe even sooner so that they can start building something ahead of the show for Evolution. Dude, I was, by the way, when they announced that next week is Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. Yo, Robin, in my head, I swear, I thought these shows were still 2 weeks away. I didn't even realize, like, no, it's incoming, like stats. I didn't even realize how fast these shows were coming. I feel like they're just, it's like a dodgeball, bro. Like they
Yeah,
just keep hitting me in the head with
yeah. Well,
shows.
once you throw in like Saturday night's main event and stuff like that, there's just like almost like it feels like there's a what's the equivalent of a PLE every other weekend.
Yes. Also, sorry, I just had an idea.
Mm,
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
That's okay.
Every time I get ideas, I have to write them down or else I'll never execute them. Sorry, while we were talking, I just got an idea. So, Bob Ross Jr., thank you so much. CJ here says SmackDown tag title and mid card cooking. Cena hurting the main title picture, but Jay sort of the same on Raw, but I'll give him credit for showing up every week. Yeah, even though John Cena today was like, you're lazy and you just want my money. And I'm like, in what world does Jay want your money, bro? Like, no. Oh, there was one line that I didn't like either because I know why John Cena said it. And I think had he said it to like anybody else on the roster, okay, great, it would make sense. But it doesn't make sense to your top two baby faces who are super top merch sellers. And it was him basically saying that Logan Paul is paying for their mortgages. I'm thinking to myself, Jay and Cody are top merch sellers. Cody has headlined WrestleMania back to back to back at this point. I mean, what are we talking about? Like, you would have told this to some other guy on the show. Great. Yes, that would probably be true, but not to Cody and Jey Uso. Like, don't be saying things that don't make sense just for the sake of saying them. That was my
Yeah.
thought on that.
No, I feel you. Yeah, I just any sense of direction back there I like, and that's my main takeaway is the fact that Cody, like I said at the top, the fact that at least we're getting uh a reintroduction of where he might be heading, and perhaps some sort of finite or cohesive finish and conclusion to this John Cena run, because I would really hate for the John Cena run to ultimately go down as disappointing in the end with the heel turn and everything else that took place, especially when it's his last hurrah.
I think that's part of why, like, I feel the same way. I don't want it to suck ass. Like, I really don't. I want to feel differently about it. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. Thank you, CJ. All right. Some really quick other matches that we didn't touch on. Those are really our big topics of the night. But JC Mateo defeated R-Truth. Have you been sold yet on JC Mateo, Robin, or do you still feel like you need a little bit more?
I'm sold in the sense like he's a fine henchman. You know, he feels good in the henchman role, but I don't see him as another Jacob Fatu.
Okay, that makes sense. I get that. And the tag team division, they had a whole segment. Fraction was out there, Street Profits were out there. DIY, all of them get taken out by the Wyatt Six. How'd you think of this as a follow-up to what we saw last week?
I mean, I'm yeah, I'll give the positive of this. I feel like they're really pushing the whole like this is the best tag team division going, and they're involving all the tag teams, and they introduce the Wyatt Six into the mix of the tag team, so at least it gives them a purpose in the meantime. So I feel like I'll give it a thumbs up for that reason. Like, okay, you're putting on a tag team showcase. You're trying to make people care about the various tag teams. You're showing us all these tag teams matter. So applaud the investment.
Okay, I was gonna come out here and just be like, it was kind of boring, but now that you said all the things that you said, I feel like you made some great points. So I would argue you on that, Robin. It just isn't for me though. Like I'm not on board right now with the tag team division. I only like them when they're wrestling, but the talking stuff, I'm like, bro, we gotta put some more spunk in there for these promos, yo, because some of these were rough. But I did love that Candace, by the way, is now, managing DIY a little bit more. I think she was always part kind of just like there, but now she's like really, really there. Like she's managing, she's speaking on the mic, all of that. So I do like that. We got Sin City Saint here who says Logan Paul can pay my mortgage. I won't say no. I'll even give him a Pokemon card. Yo, bro. I mean, I'm with you. I'd also be like, yo, come pay my mortgage too. I don't even got a mortgage, all right? But if I ever get a mortgage, for sure, come pay
There's
it.
nothing good about them. But I guess there's something good about it because it means you own a house, and but yeah, it's like a rent off the top rope. That's
Yeah, dude. I was gonna say I live out in California. I need to sell like my organs, my legs, everything just to get money so that I can own a house. Here in California is insane, okay?
Yeah, it's
It's
like
crazy
as you
out here.
I get older, like I'm in Jersey, it's not that much different. You wouldn't realize from Cali. Like as far as that, like there is the part of me that goes, why don't I just go somewhere in the middle or somewhere that's not that not that is it any different really? Every suburb is
Yeah,
the same
it is.
anyway.
It is. No, it is different. It's different for sure. But I mean, hey, if you own your dream house, you own your dream house, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a topic for another day, our real estate podcast someday. Thank you, Sin City State.
Houses
Alrighty,
and
guys.
heel turns with Denise and Robin.
I know. Honestly, yeah, I'll just sit here and be like, what are my options? They ain't good. They ain't good. Alrighty, guys, there you have it. That is our SmackDown post show for today. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us. Before we wrap things up, Robin, promote your stuff. Where can the people find and support you?
Yeah, Robin Lundberg over on YouTube. Follow me on X. I promote everything over there as well. I'm here every week. I'm bad at this, Denise. Like, I feel like I should promote myself harder sometimes. I'm good at making this stuff and doing this stuff, but like, I always feel weird when I'm just like,
I get it.
Google my name.
Google Robin Lundberg and follow him. You need to come up with a slogan or like just a overall catchphrase
That's
or
right.
just
Yeah.
something to go like say it like Robin Lundberg everywhere.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. Robin Lundberg everywhere. We got CJ here who says, what do you think the tag division needs to improve? I think they need bigger personalities and just overall more I think everybody is kind of blending in terms of personality. I think we need more flair, more liveliness in the division. That's where I'm at. Thank you, CJ. Alrighty. And last but not least, guys, YouTube, you're already here. Make sure you click that subscribe button, join the family, join the page. Facebook, Denise Salcedo, Denise's version just hit 2.5 thousand followers. Still a long ways to go, but make sure you guys go in there, spam, hit likes on the videos, leave comments. I go in every single night. I go in like at least 3 times during the day to go respond to a bunch of comments. I usually do this in the morning, midday, and at night to cover all my bases. So I do see people's comments. I engage with people. So please go in there, reply. Even if you have already seen the video, just put anything and I'll make sure to write back to you. I just want to make sure that the Facebook algorithm starts to show my content out to people. So anything you can do really, really does help. Denise Salcedo, Denise's version on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at _Denise Salcedo. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much. We'll catch you all on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Eat.